What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to the Monday afternoon baseball show. Quick, and I mean quick, breakdown of tonight's baseball slate. Gonna try and get back on the air sometime. Gonna try and wrap this by like 5-ish, like really fly through this one, and then get back on the air 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood. Kind of forgot that it was a 7:15 start for the two-game slate for football, but I do want to hop on and do a football show of some sort, try and work our way through the weird little two-gamer. Fortunately, there's not a ton to talk about, not a ton to get caught up on football-wise, and there's only an 8-game slate for baseball that we can kind of dive right on into. Looks like we got Travis dealing with 50 kilometer an hour winds in the Crane today. That's a little bit dicey. Man, hang on tight. Hope you're buckled in. Mamba's here. What's up, Mamba? Travis, a life I chose, can't cry about it. Certainly not for everybody. Yeah, I don't know that I would want to deal with that, man. That sounds a little daredevilish. Steve Leibowitz is here. What's up, Steve? So we're probably already behind schedule. Like I said, we're going to try and knock this thing out. Get up and out of here 5:15. Do less than an hour type of a show. We've only got 8 games. Think we'll make it. But it won't be quite as in-depth, quite as crazy as normal, because I do want to try and knock out that NFL show. If you're looking for NFL projections, those are up on the website. Totally free of charge for the two-gamer tonight. Not sure what we're going to do as far as the single game. I'm probably not going to split out the single game projections, but if you're using them, they're the same projections. So just load them up and do the multiplication. Pretty easy. So we'll get into that a little bit later on, but let's dive into this baseball slate. Stephen Leibowitz. Yeah, let's roll this MLB slate. Fortunately, FanDuel not putting up any kind of interesting contests yet again. Hopefully they'll have something good tomorrow. A lot of time, September, they do that. They'll save up decent contests for Tuesdays when there's no NFL going on and there's a big slate. So hopefully we'll get that there. But it looked like DK was, kind of like normal. Bigger contests over on DK for football today, too. They got a milli up top for the two-gamer. They've got some interesting contests for the single game, the showdowns. On FanDuel, just 100K on top for the two-gamer, 100K on top for the second of the two showdown slates if you're looking. So that's where I'm going to be playing. Not going to be playing the baseball slate today, but let's dive on into baseball. Can't spend too much time just chatting. Keep your eyes out, though, football show-wise. I'm going to schedule it as soon as we get off the air. Just depends on kind of how quickly I'm able to get through this. If it's too late, won't happen. We'll see. Do have the runs board updated today, fortunately. No 5s, but we've got a lot of 4.8s, 4.9s to work with. There's a lot of interesting games offensively here. A lot of good teams facing clunky kind of pitching. So you can make a lot of different kind of stacks that are fairly interesting. I think it's a good day to get spread out. A lot of same kind of options on the mound. Couple good, couple bad. A lot of the guys kind of obvious. Pitching against the weak teams. Brian Wu, very good pitcher, pitching against Oakland. Michael Wacha, up and down veteran, but a quality pitcher, pitching against Colorado. He's got the premium spot. Wacha's interesting. We saw him the other day where he was like down here, and I said, we've seen Wacha lead slates sometimes this year, and bang, there he is as a slate leader. Lance Lynn, tough to trust, going up against Detroit. Great matchup, though. Freddie Peralta going up against the Cards. Not the greatest matchup. Highest priced pitcher on the board. Falls short of the top, but obviously projected very well. And probably the most top to bottom reliable, I think, at this point, guy. Even though Freddie's not entirely reliable, has weird games from time to time. Clevenger, decent matchup against the Nats, but not great because of their ability to avoid strikeouts, find base hits. Verlander, who knows which version we get. Jordan Montgomery, it's been a little bit up and down, a little bit rocky for Texas. Brutal matchup against the Red Sox. So it's, good pitchers here, but tough matchup, brutal matchup for Zach Wheeler going up against Atlanta. And then Erod, tough matchup against the Dodgers. So 4 good pitchers right there, kind of only project into the middle of the board for high prices. And then kind of a low-end bottom. I do think JP Sears could have a little bit of a ceiling beyond this, given his strikeout ability that we've seen. But obviously has to pitch a clean game. John Means looks like he's going to get tattooed by Houston, but I think he's a good pitcher overall. And then Wainwright, not so great at the bottom. Stephen Leibowitz, 2 of Lynn's last 5 starts were negative points. Yeah, he's been a mess since going out to the Los Angeles. Absolute mess. A little bit better in the last one, I think, against the Pods. 7 innings against the Pods last time out, 5 hits, 2 earned, only 3 strikeouts. Only 1 strikeout in 3 straight games before that with 8 earned runs, 7 earned runs, 3 earned runs. Yeah, it hasn't been pretty. But up against the Tigers, guy with a lot of track record. We'll see. Monty says, best of luck. Thanks for grinding out the last few weeks of the season. Yeah, it's the fun part. get into all this weird stuff. So let's go game by game. Break this thing down as best we can. First one up, Clevenger against Juan Adon. I do think there's potential for Clevy. He projects out fairly well. 7,600, 9,000. I'd obviously rather have him on the DK slate than on the FanDuel slate. But I think he's playable on the single starter site as well. It's not like he's been bad. He's kind of earned some faith back from me overall. Last 3 starts back was kind of a clunker. Gave up 8 earned to the Tigers, which isn't great. It could be indicative of what might happen to Lance Lynn today. But then he came back at Detroit, pitched 7 clean innings, found 7 strikeouts, only allowed 3 hits, shut him out over 7. 2 earned runs the last time out against Kansas City in 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. Benefits from pitching against some weak competition for sure in that division. But overall, pretty decent numbers for his 21 starts, 21.1% strikeouts, 3.61 ERA, but the truth is told by the 5.14 xFIP. But as long as he's getting away with whatever he's doing, I think we can go back to him against some Nats here. 10.1% swinging strike rate. The CSW is not great, especially considering that he is over 10% swinging. This should be closer to 30, a little higher. Home runs, premium contact are fine. 33.7% hard hits, 2.72% home run rate. He is a fly ball oriented pitcher with a 22.3 degree average launch, so he can be prone to making mistakes. But there's not a ton of fearsome home run hitters on this team. Lane Thomas has 25 on the season. That leads the team by a pretty wide margin. CJ's got 18 in the leadoff spot. He's got just a 297 on base, though. He's down to an 89 WRC+. Everybody else on this team is kind of fairly non-threatening. Kiebert is a good bat, rarely ever strikes out, does hit home runs from the catcher spot. Then you get Dom Smith, Carter Kaboom, Jake Alou, Jake Young. It's not a threatening power club. So I think Clevy's got a little bit of upside here. Adon on the other side doesn't really project out great. 19.2% strikeout rate for this season with a 5.92 ERA, a 5.12 xFIP, giving up a pretty high amount of power with 47.5% hard hits on a 15.2 degree angle. That equals home run trajectory. 3.49% home run rate is never good. 91.1 miles an hour of exit velo. A lot of premium contact available. Not that many strikeouts. Too many walks. The White Sox haven't been good, but they've got one fearsome hitter in the middle of the lineup who is too cheap. 5,500, 3,300 for Luis Robert. I know there's nobody around him in the lineup, but who cares? He could win the game all by himself. Eloy Jimenez, their second best player, 37.28, has 17 homers, a 104 WRC+. Andrew Vaughn has a 104 WRC+ with 20 homers. So those are your 3 priority bats here if you're going to White Sox. Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Andrew Vaughn. We're not really breaking any ground there. I think everybody who's played all season knows that at this point. These 2 guys have been bad all year, but they're capable bolt-on parts. A 61 WRC+ for Tim Anderson, 1 home run, 13 steals. 5 homers, 13 steals for Benny with a 91 WRC+. Benny's getting on 30, 40 points more frequently, but neither one of them has been good. Either one of them can be bolted on to the middle of the lineup, though. Joan Moncada, 3,600, 2,900. Pretty lost season. 90 WRC+ and 320 plate appearances. We need more out of them, but any given slate, capable if you want to just stick him in the middle in a stack like that. I think that's perfectly fine. Jasmani Grandal down the bottom of the lineup, doesn't get on base like he used to, doesn't hit for power. Another guy kind of a lost year, 19 points worse than average grading runs. Gavin Sheets, way worse than average grading runs, only 10 homers and 303 plate appearances. Does play 2 positions for cheap. A little bit of lefty pop, but very infrequent. Elvis Andrus, 87 WRC+, 6 homers, 12 steals. No, thank you. So really, it's heart of the lineup, plus whatever, plus 1 or 2 spare parts, typically from the top. On the Nationals side, if you want to stack up against Clevy, top priorities are these 3 guys. Probably you could say there was 4 guys. And then you're really just mixing and matching with pretty low quality options later in the lineup. Luis Garcia, obviously not a $9,200 pitcher. Forgot to change that. Don't know why it's still there. Jake Alou, Jake Young, kind of low end, 39.68 WRC+ marks in 143 and 76 plate appearances. They do have speed at the bottom of the lineup. 4 stolen bases for Alou, 7 stolen bases for Young. Not doing much else so far. Dom Smith hits for a little bit of average with a 260, 331 on base, but doesn't do anything else. 9 homers, a 100 ISO, 91 WRC+. It's pretty weak. So my priority bats are really here. They're all very cheap. They all put the ball in play pretty effectively. High strikeout rate for Lane Thomas, but it doesn't matter. He's their best overall hitter at 272, 319, 471 with a 111 WRC+. Everyone else in the lineup below average for run creation. Not a great spot, but a playable one because they'll put the ball in play against Clevy. So, Clevenger, Let me open it. Let me pull up the stacked board real quick. We're going to do it quick, but we're going to do it right. Clevenger's got to be on top. I just want to see who lands White Sox or Nats. They're probably similarly ranked. Yep. White Sox 10th on the board, but they do have very good points per dollar marks. Second points per dollar on FanDuel, first points per dollar on DK. So drawing a decent amount of value potential out of the White Sox because they're all very, very cheap. Part of that's driven by Luis Robert. And then Washington just 12th, 16th by value, and 7th by home run potential. So they're showing a little bit of mid-range home run, but nobody over the magic number. Lane Thomas the closest to it at 8.69. So Clevenger, White Sox bats for value, Nationals bats, and really Noah Dunn. One game down, 7 to go, 432. Probably not going to be out by 5 already. Zach Wheeler, terrific pitcher. Don't think you necessarily want to roster him against the Braves here. Not exactly a great spot going up against easily baseball's best offense. That said, Wheeler, good at limiting home runs, 2.65% home run rate, 5.4 degree average launch, 36.8% hard hits, pitching well but not sparkling like he has in years past. 3.70 ERA, a 3.47 xFIP is very good. 27% strikeouts is good. 4.9% walks is great. Limits opportunities. He can cut into the Braves' upside probably more than he keeps them completely limited, more than he goes out and posts a monster DFS start. So at 10-9, 10,000 with a pretty mediocre projection for being Zach Wheeler, I think he's not off the board, but you don't want much of them across 150 lineups. If you're building one, I don't think Wheeler's your guy. If you're building 3, I don't think Wheeler's in them. If you're building 20, you have him a few times, but pretty limited. Matt Pat's here, Ranger Splash Spot today. Like that call. What's up, Matt? Greg B. and Cohen's here, hoping people shy away from Seattle. Like that. Lone Wolf's here. What's up, Lone Wolf? Hit that little button. Chuck Deuces. What's up, Chuck? Andrews has been one of their best hitters since May or June. Right after Terry Rails, Andrews goes on a heater. 110 WRC plus type number since May or June. Now you're sending me off the rails when I'm trying to finish up quickly. So the important thing with Andrews is in a career that goes back to 2009, for which he's fairly highly regarded. He's made 300 to 500 plate appearances in every single year, typically well above between 500 and 650, 675. He has had a positive WRC plus 3 times since debuting in 2009 as a 20-year-old. Those came last year in that little weird 577 plate appearances of productivity he had. Then in back-to-back seasons in 2016 and 2017 with Texas. Every other year of his career, he's been at best 3 points below average for run creation. That was a 97 WRC plus back in 2012. 93 after that, and then every other year he's been at least 10 points worse than average, at least 13 points worse than average. 87 WRC plus is his next highest. He's a good defender. He's been involved in his throughout his career in different spots, but overall on the whole doesn't deserve the reputation that he's got. Let's see. May WRC plus 65, June 58, July 89. Was good in August, 152. September, October so far, 151. August, he went 346, 370, 551 with a 205 ISO and a 152 WRC plus in 81 plate appearances. It was a good August. Any given slate, definitely can get involved. Mamba says, damn, I knew this would happen. We need you on football more than MLB. All right, so don't worry. We're going to get this. So Wheeler is kind of rough, just given the opponent. A lot of other opponents were firing away with Zach Wheeler even at price. Given that they didn't really give us a discount, FanDuel was a little bit cheap, but not really. There's other options here. Kyle Wright, been kind of messy, 20.7% strikeout rate, 10.8% walks with a 7.48 ERA and a 4.36 xFIP. Obviously, the xFIP tells the truth. It's a much better number than the ERA. Only 1.80% home runs, but 12.3% barrels, 92.6 on the exit velo, and 50+% hard hits. Going up against a pretty talented, pretty hard-hitting Phillies lineup. I don't really like that spot either for Kyle Wright coming back the other way. Let me grab the Braves lineup. So I think we're just focusing on bats on both sides in this one. Wright's very cheap at 6,000, 7,400, but the opportunity here is limited. The number of times you roll this where he comes up with a slate winning score for you is probably pretty thin. The Braves, basically the everyday version of the lineup. Actually, it's the exact everyday version of the lineup. So we know that we're playing Braves from top to bottom. They are a little bit more limited, though. You can see it in the power index for sure. A lot of single-digit marks where we're normally seeing a lot of double-digit marks. Matt Olson at only 8.1. Ronnie Acuna 6.5. These aren't bad numbers, especially against Wheeler. So I think the Braves are playable, but they're lower end than they normally would be. Orlando Arcia up to 17 home runs. Mikey Harris up to 18. Their entire starting lineup's probably going to end the season with 20 home runs. Everybody's above average for run creation. You've got monster superstars. You've got affordable, very talented players like Eddie Rosario for 2,900. Marcelo Ozuna at 4,700, 3,400, has 35 home runs. Show me another hitter around baseball who's got this line. 266, 338, 531 with a 266 ISO, creating runs 30% better than average with 35 home runs on the board, a 15.7% barrel rate, and 48.2% hard hits. And show me that he costs 4,700, 3,400. That is absurd. He is way too cheap. They have to do it because all these guys can't be cheaper than they are. Acuna 69, 5,000, totally worth it. 37 homers, 66 steals. Albies and Riley are the best players at their positions. Matt Olson, 52 home runs from the first base spot, 333 ISO, 160 WRC plus. Just any combination of Braves that you can afford, that you can make, is playable. It's just Zach Wheeler on the other side has a bit of a limiting factor. Schwarber, the only player in this game over the magic number for home run upside from the left side of the plate. Monster home run potential given all this contact that Kyle Wright's allowing. 2 home runs are in play for Kyle Schwarber if he sees Kyle Wright twice. 44 on the season, a 278 ISO, just having a monster year. I don't care about his 197 batting average. Everything else is terrific. Trey Turner, up to 26 homers, 27 steals, creating runs 11% better than average. What slump? Bryce Harper, tremendous season, given that he blew out his elbow last year. 17 home runs on the season, a 137 WRC plus. Alec Boehm having a tremendous year. 10 points above average for run creation, 17 homers. Very solid triple slash. Bryson Stott could say the exact same thing. Adds 29 stolen bases. JT Realmuto, one of the more valuable catchers. Only at league average for run creation, but counting stats are great. Does have power from behind the plate. Squares the ball up very well and very frequently. 5,000, 2,800. Discounted on FanDuel, fairly priced on DK where you need catchers. Castellanos, 48.32, has cooled off a lot. 272, 310, 458. He was over 300. He was having a better season earlier, but he carried the team for the first half. 24 homers, 10 steals. He's still a very good option. Brandon Marsh, 25% better than average, creating runs this year. 285, 374, 457. A terrific wraparound play, given the on-base skills back up to the top for him. 33-28. Excellent option there. And Joan Rojas, 9% above average creating runs and 12 stolen bases in his 129. Not bad at all. Braves bats, Phillies bats. Zach Wheeler if you have to, but it's not a great spot. Brewers and the Cards. Let's see what we got here lineups-wise. Looks like we got the Cardinals. Waino, obviously, do not play. All right, we're picking up time. Freddie on the other side, definitely an interesting spot. Not a pushover matchup by any means against the Cardinals, but Freddie's a very good pitcher overall. Looking at the recent output, I just want to make sure there's nothing weird in the game log that I'm not thinking of off the top. I'm going to try and do that so that we're... Yep, pitching deep, pitching like Freddie. Normal output over his last few. 9+ strikeouts in 4 of his last 5, going back to an at Texas start 5 outings ago. 11, 9, 10. Only struck out 4 against the Pirates in a bit of a clunker. Gave up 3 earned on a homer. 4 strikeouts. Came back 9 strikeouts and 6 1/3 against Miami the last time. Has allowed a home run in 4 straight, which has just been a little bit of a blip for Freddie this year overall. His home run rate's up to 3.59, 37.5% hard hits. Last year, 1.89, 31.3 hard hits. Barrels are up, hard hits are up, homers are up, but it's been non-problematic overall. 3.79 ERA, a 3.49 xFIP, 1.10 WHIP, 31.2% strikeout rate. Premium option on the mound today. 11.3, 10.8, you're paying a tax for him, you're paying full freight, whatever you want to call it, but definitely worth it. Projects out very well. There are other pitchers going up against worse teams to use, but if Freddie falls by the wayside a little bit for the public, based on matchup, based on price, then I think you can definitely hit the Freddie button a few extra times and get ahead of the field on him. Cards bats, definitely playable against Freddie for all his talent. He has been giving up a little bit more power this year. Strikes out a ton. They're an okay strikeout matchup. 22.5 for Wilson, 23.4 for Goldie. Everybody else actually up top pretty decent for not striking out. So not the greatest strikeout matchup. Let me unwind that a little bit. Not the greatest strikeout matchup for Freddie, but he knows how to find them. If you're going to the Cards, Lars Nootbaar, Very good option off the top. 39.1% hard hits is down. His contact profile is overall down from where it was last year in limited action. 451 plate appearances, 13 homers, 10 steals, a 123 WRC plus. Very good option in the leadoff role, given a 373 on base, tying directly into Goldschmidt and Arenado. Alec Burleson, not ideal necessarily hitting between those two guys. He's very, very cheap. He helps make stacks work. 8 home runs, but only an 87 WRC plus, 241, 298, 386. Completely miscast as a 3-hitter. They just want to move that lefty bat up. I would probably consider Richie Palacios in that spot, actually. Arenado and Goldschmidt are the stars on this team. They're relatively high priced, just in a vacuum compared to everybody else on this team. But in general, like 51-34 for Paul Goldschmidt, not bad. 25 homers, 11 steals, a 126 WRC plus. Arenado, 26 homers, a 111 WRC plus, a 196 ISO, only 4,900, 3,300. So those are two stars for fairly cheap. They're not at superstar level anymore. Both of them cooled a little bit this season. Arenado had the rough start, monster middle, and then has cooled a little bit on the back end. Goldschmidt's been good, not great all season, but just won the MVP last year. So there's still plenty of upside on any given slate for those two players. Wilson Contreras, where you need catchers, 41-31, 19 homers, pretty good triple slash, 27% better than average creating runs. Mix and match options through the bottom. Palacios, cheap, has been productive over 54, has 4 home runs and a 128 WRC plus. Jordan Walker, having a good rookie season. Not great, not outstanding, but this is very, very serviceable and a lot to build on going forward. For 3,300, 2,800, focus on the hard hit rate, the pretty solid triple slash, the 16 home runs and 411 plate appearances. It's a pretty good price for that kid. Tommy Edman doesn't strike out that much. Below average by 10% creating runs this year, but does provide good counting stats and an interesting bat for cheap with second base eligibility, shortstop, and second on the FanDuel slate. Mason Wynn, cheap, hasn't done much yet. On the Brewers side, going up against Adam Wainwright gives everybody upside. Wayno this year, 11.3% strikeouts. It's been a complete disaster. I don't have to tell anybody about it. Way too much premium contact. Fire away with shares of Christian Yelich, William Contreras. Oh, Battle of the Contreras brothers. How about that? Forgot about that. William is my preference between the two Contrerases if you're going to this game for your catcher, just on virtue of where he hits in the lineup and the fact that he's just as good or a little bit better in the triple slash. 16 homers versus 19 homers. I'll take the triple slash in the spot in the batting order, but it's very, very close. Two very good catchers. 9.7% barrels, 48.2% hard hits. Ideal spot in the lineup with Christian Yelich ahead of him at a 363 on base percentage. 27 steals, creates runs 16% better than average. Very, very good option for 52-33. Carlos Santana, 39, 3,000, 21 homers on the season. Willy Adames, 4,300, 3,100, 24 homers. A lot of power on display against a pitcher who's been just giving up lousy contact all year. Sal Frelick for 3,000. The price has come down. The performance has come down since his great breakout. Still at a 109 WRC plus overall, though. So you've got decent power. A good on-base opportunist. 369 on-base percentage for Sal. If nothing else, he's still hanging on to that. Doesn't strike out much. Walks a ton. A lot of these guys walk a lot. A lot of these guys don't strike out a lot. Bottom of the lineup, I love the pairing of Marcana and Rowdy Tellez like we talked about the other day. 364 on base for Marcana, and also a capable guy. 270, 364, 416, creating runs 17% better than average. 11 homers and 10 steals in his 459. But I love his on base ahead of Rowdy Tellez's big bat. 13 homers and 334 for Rowdy. Only 2,800, 2,600. Very cheap for his power. He hit 35 home runs and 599 plate appearances last year. 2-ranked Monasterio, mix and match options. Freddie Peralta, Brewers bats, Cardinals bats. If you play Adam Wainwright, you're fired. 4:45. Handful of games to go. Red Sox, Rangers. Forgive me for not paying too much attention in the chat. Hello to everybody who's here. Hello to everybody who's said hi. Thank you for joining us for a weird little quick baseball show that we're hoping to get through so that we can still do an NFL show. NFL projections are up on the website. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. You guys rock. Rangers, Jordan Montgomery on the mound, 8,000, 9,500. Projects out fairly well considering that it's the Red Sox on the other side. And just, he hasn't been ideal. He hasn't been the peak version of Montgomery in most of his starts since coming to Texas. Everybody's been talking about, they should have just kept Raggins and all that. Looking at the game log, did go 7 the last time out at Toronto in a good start. Struck out only 3, but only allowed 4 hits, no runs, walked 1, faced 25 hitters. Kind of messy the 2 starts before that. 5 earned against Oakland of all teams in 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 6 earned in only 3 2/3 against Minnesota, another spot where we liked him, where we thought he would find some strikeouts. Didn't strike out anybody in that one, only went 3 2/3. 5 1/3 against the same Twins team, gave up 3, struck out 4. Going back to August 21st, he faced Arizona at Arizona, had another very good no runs, 6 strikeouts, allowed 4 hits, but went 8 in that one. If we get the version of Montgomery that went 8 against Arizona, 7 against the Blue Jays, which he's very capable of, even with low strikeout totals on a somewhat limited slate, I do think there's potential for Jordan Montgomery. Obviously, it's a tough matchup. You do get lefty-lefty matchup for, they went very righty-heavy, so you get some of their very best hitters out of the lineup. So that helps his cause. Going up against this version of the Red Sox, I think there's upside for Jordan Montgomery, especially at the $8,000 price on DK. 95 FanDuel's not doing you any favors for a guy who's more a good real-life pitcher than a DFS pitcher anyway, but I do think he's on the board. 21% strikeouts plays well enough on this slate. Looking at the Red Sox lineup, Ceddanne Rafaela, premium prospect for them. In 52 plate appearances, he's got 2 homers, a stolen base, creating runs 35% better than average, 320, 346, 540. Definitely better than Rob Refsnyder in the leadoff role, even though Refsnyder does hit lefties very well. That said, they've got him miscast in the 3 spot. I would have gone Refsnyder here and Rafaela here. Just a dumb version of the lineup. Refsnyder, 245, 365, 313 overall, creating runs 92% better than average in 232 plate appearances. Does hit lefties well. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's still, even against lefties, much more a slap hitter on base skill type guy. Against left-handers this year, 136 of those plate appearances, 1 home run, 313, 434, 402. See the 434? That's why I want to have him in the leadoff role, hitting ahead of Rafi Devers because he's on base all the time in this split. He's got a .089 ISO and a 136 WRC+. He creates runs by getting on base, not by hitting for power in this split. It's just a weird decision, but he's playable. He's very playable. Rafi Devers very playable at 53, 4,000. He's got 33 home runs. Remember the other day when we were saying he's been stuck at 29 for a minute? He's hit 4 since then. Monster season for Devers. He's too cheap. He's fine on FanDuel, but he's been too cheap all season long on DK. It's come up a little bit, but not enough. 276, 355, 521, a 130 WRC+. One of the best third basemen in baseball, full stop. Adam Duvall, tons of power from the right side. This is a power threat for sure. 8.14 in the home run model. Devers the only one over the magic number, but call Duvall basically right there. 19 home runs in 319 plate appearances, a 284 ISO. Monster power hitter. Pablo Reyes, Trevor Story, Pablo Reyes, mix and match option. Trevor Story, power for days. He's got 2 home runs, 8 steals in his 129 plate appearances. Ignore the rest. Know that it's Trevor Story and that he's way too cheap. 4,000, 2,800. Buy the contact, buy the stolen base upside. That's all you have to worry about. Luis Urias, 2,700, 2,300. Another guy, hits for a little bit of power, but hasn't really done it this year. Very cheap, plays multiple positions on both sides, a little bit of pop. Connor Wong, a little bit of premium contact, 9 home runs in 372 plate appearances, a cheap, playable part at the catcher spot. Yeah, I know he's there. I skipped him intentionally. Bobby Dahlbeck, 2,900 on the DK slate. Dead minimum price on the FanDuel slate. Monster power hitter. Power for days. I don't care about anything else that he does, but he's also a 3 true outcomes type guy. Good at drawing walks. Strikes out too much. Let's see. What did he do in the minors this season? In 493 plate appearances in AAA this season, where he shouldn't have been. He should have just gotten traded in the majors. 33 home runs, 18 stolen bases, 269, 381, 557, creating runs 31% better than average, a 288 ISO. Yeah, he strikes out 34.3% of the time, even in AAA. That's way too many strikeouts, but he walks 13%. He is one of the 3 true outcomes guys that you will take the 35% strikeouts because he mashes and he gets on base and he steals bases and he hits home runs. It's a major league player. He should be in the majors. It's ridiculous that he's not. Buy him while he's here. 2,000 on the FanDuel slate. Rangers lineup going up against Cutter Crawford. Crawford, 24.6% strikeouts, a respectable season, 4.26 ERA, 4.45 xFIP. Just not like a premium guy who bounces to the top all that often, and a pretty brutal matchup for him. So I don't know how much I go to Cutter Crawford here. Take a quick look at the game log. Short starts, 4 2/3 last time, 3 2/3, 2 2/3, 5 innings. 6 innings going back to August 19th was the last time he completed 6. It's he's done it three times this year. So you're not getting a lot of depth out of him in the average start. He's very, very cheap. He does project out okay for a short start, but tough opponent going up against the Rangers. If I'm going to Rangers stacks, Sammy and Seager, obvious. Stars off the top. 121 and 178 WRC plus. Homers and stolen bases. Tons of homers. Fantastic triple slash. Nathaniel Lowe, very cheap for a guy creating runs. 24% better than average with 16 homers from first base. Good option. Walks a ton, gets on base. Creates opportunities for these guys. Mitch Garver and Jonah Heim, if they're both in the lineup, you can play them both on FanDuel. You have to decide between them on DK, but they're both premium power hitters at the catcher spot. Both have 17 home runs. Garver got there quicker. Robbie Grossman's been filling in fairly well. 10 home runs, a 104 WRC plus, and 402 plate appearances. Has been a little bit frisky of late, filling in for Adolis Garcia while he's out. Ludy Taveras, Josh H. Smith, Evan Carter. Taveras, very playable, 3,500, 2,800, 12 homers, 14 steals, 98 WRC plus. It's come down, but he's been hovering in that high 90s range, so it's not come down tragically. It's just not exactly as good as he was earlier in the year, but very, very playable for cheap late in the lineup. Josh H. Smith, skippable part, very, very cheap, 3 positions on FanDuel, 2,500. Can't get him to project, don't really care. 74 WRC plus and 227 plate appearances. Carter, creating runs 35% better than average in his 33 opportunities, a home run, a stolen base so far, was raking in the minors. Definitely an interesting bat for 36-27. Where they rank? Rankings are tricky in this one because the Red Sox was a pretty different looking version of the lineup. I'm going to go Jordan Montgomery, Red Sox bats. Jordan Montgomery, Rangers bats, Red Sox bats. Rangers bats, Jordan Montgomery, Red Sox bats, Cutter Crawford. Crawford is a value dart. Just don't expect innings. Wouldn't play him on FanDuel. Maybe on DKs and SP2. Orioles and the Astros. We've got both lineups in for this one. Grab these. Astros we had. Let me make sure it's the same one. John Means has not pitched much in the show this year. What did he do? Has he been pitching? Only worked 3 games in the minors. I assume that's rehab. Bear with me. I just want to see when those minor league outings for Means were. Yeah, so we rehabbed through August. 2 innings, 1 1/3, 4 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. 5 innings. So we're stretched out around 5. He went 5 in his major league start last week on the 12th. So he's back, but not like you're going to get a complete game out of him back. 5 innings in that start against the Cards. What did he do specifically? Gave up 3 earned, 2 home runs, struck out 1. Looked like he was pitching fairly decently in AAA in the rehab, though. We're talking about a guy who 8 innings last year. Going back to 2021, 146 and 2/3, 3.62 ERA, 4.36 xFIP, didn't walk anybody. Pretty solid strikeout rate, but gave up way too much power, way too many home runs. A serviceable, pretty fairly talented 30-year-old lefty. I don't love the spot, though. Not fully stretched out with all the power on the other side that's showing through the model, given what he's done for power in the past. I think we just go to Astros bats in this one. I really don't think we need any John Means. And then we've got Justin Verlander on the other side of this, which complicate things even further. Verlander, up and down type season. In the recent performances since coming back to Houston, he's been a little bit back and forth. 7 innings in both of the last 2 starts. Gave up 5 with 2 home runs. Struck out 7 against that weirdly frisky for power Oakland team. Start before that went 7, struck out 6. Much better outing at Texas. Gave up 1 earned, 1 homer. That was the start, I think, against... we were supposed to... No, that wasn't... Was that the start against Max? Where him and Max were supposed to be aligned, or was Max out by then? Either way. Six innings against the Yankees. Struck out 3, but gave up 4 home runs. Not at Yankee Stadium either, in Houston. At Detroit, struck out 7. Good start there, but only went 5. But a little bit up and down since joining the Astros, and that's just been his entire season. 21.2% strikeouts is way down. 3.39 ERA, but a 4.66 xFIP. Giving up 3% home run rate with 40-plus hard hits. Almost 90 miles an hour of exit velo and 8.5% barrels on an aggressively high launch angle, fly ball pitcher. So I do think there's upside for the Orioles. They don't obviously slam through the top of the home run model like the Astros. Astros probably one of our better stacks of the day overall. But the Orioles are in play. I think Verlander's in play as well, but he's high priced, doesn't project out at the top of the board, kind of stuck in the middle with that group of guys that are talented pitchers having weird years against good competition. So if we're rostering Orioles bats against them, Gunnar off the top. I like to switch with Gunnar and Adley. Having Gunnar lead off, he's got a ton of power, a little bit of speed, 27 homers, 9 steals, 327 on base, 125 WRC plus. Feeding into Adley Rutschman, their tremendous catcher bat, 19 home runs, 270, 366, 423. He's been well above average for run creation for this playoff team. Ryan O'Hearn sliding in, no Ryan Mountcastle here, but you get the lefty bat from O'Hearn. Best 321 plate appearances of his career. 123 WRC plus, 202 ISO, 13 homers, 295, 325, 497. Ridiculous. Austin Hayes, serviceable bat in the cleanup role. 3,600, 2,900 is pretty cheap. Only 14 homers, but overall 14% better than average creating runs. Good triple slash. Capable bat. Cedric Mullins, power and speed for 4,600, 3,200. 14 homers, 17 steals, a 107 WRC plus, a 191 ISO, 30-30 a couple seasons ago. Tremendous player. Aaron Hicks, 26-26. You hope he gets on base. Correlated scoring a couple times. Jordan Westberg, premium prospect that they brought up 203 plate appearances ago, has done well. Not outrageously well, not a monster breakout, but serving himself very well. He's not going back to the minors, let's put it that way. 44.8% hard hits, 3 home runs, 4 steals, a 104 WRC plus. Heston Kjerstad, their other premium prospect who came up just over the weekend, 4 plate appearances. He's got a homer already. He's got a 100% barrel rate and a 100% hard hit rate. I've never seen that before. That's amazing. Only 4 plate appearances, obviously. He rocked 1 very hard hit ball that went for a home run. 750 ISO, 1,000 slug, 229 WRC plus. Jorge Mateo, can he get to 30 stolen bases after stealing like 25 in the month of April? Let's see. Dead play at the bottom of the board, but a capable enough guy that you can stick into a couple Orioles lineups. If you're building 30 of them, stick them into like 5. Astros bats we definitely want to get involved with. Look at all these magic number plus home run spots. Jose Altuve, superstar off the top. 62, 4,000. He's expensive, but he's the best second baseman in baseball. Well worth getting to. Alex Bregman, the home run pick of the day at 12.79. 5,500, 3,500. He's got 23 on the board this year. A 177 ISO, 128 WRC plus. Not monster numbers from Bregman, but a very serviceable season for power. Pretty decent triple slash, gets on base like crazy. Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker. They're 2 premium lefties. Don't worry lefty-lefty against John Means. Don't worry lefty-lefty with those guys against any lefty in the league, but especially not John Means. Monster power available for both of those hitters. Kyle Tucker also steals bases, 27 and 28. Jordan, just one of the best hitters overall in all of baseball. 174 WRC plus, 292 ISO, 300, 430, 413, 591 with 28 homers. Monster power hitter. Jose Abreu, 4,200 is very cheap, hitting between those two guys. That's an outrageously good spot in the lineup for somebody who costs 4,200. He's got 15 homers and 80 WRC plus, a serviceable player. Chas McCormick, 44-32, 20 homers, 18 steals, 139 WRC plus. Excellent breakout for Chas. 44-32 is a little bit cheap for him in the outfield. Great option. Pena, Dubon, and Maldonado, just kind of inconsistent mix-in bats from the bottom. 98 WRC plus a piece for Pena and Dubon. Dubon is the better hitter so far this year. Pena's shown us a little bit more pop in more plate appearances. They're about even. They're about the same guy. Mix and match. You get triple position eligibility for cheaper out of Dubon. That's a bonus. Only an outfielder on the DK. That's a downgrade. Martin Maldonado, just cheap, odd catcher home runs. Astros bats with a bullet. Orioles bats. Justin Verlander if you need him, but it's not the greatest matchup in the world. Don't love the Verlander spot. Wouldn't be shocked by any means if he came out and had a monster start. John Means, I just don't think you play. Maybe you mix him in a little bit on the DK slate at 65 if you're desperate for SP2s, but he's the bottom of the barrel in terms of that, given the power expectations. Mariners and the Athletics. No lineups yet for this one. Very good matchup for Brian Wu. I like the opportunity for him. We've talked a lot about the frisky power, though, for the Athletics lately. A lot of double-digit barrel rates, a lot of 40-plus hard hit rates, some pretty capable left-handed hitters to throw at Woo. Guys have power. Guys in the heart of the lineup with power. Shea Langoliers has power. So if you can avoid the home run problem, I think he's fine. And he is a good pitcher for avoiding home runs. Only 2.85% home runs, only 31.6% hard hits. That's phenomenal. 5.7% barrels. A little bit of fly ball trajectory, but it has not been a problem for Woo at all this season. 4.16 ERA, 4.20 xFIP, 24.1% strikeout rate. Very, very interesting option. Projects out near the top of the board. It was a big projection. I left it alone. He's way too cheap on DK at 72. 97 on FanDuel is appropriate for this pitcher. He's got 24.1% strikeouts. That's a very good pitcher over 75 and 2/3. Kid that they were expecting to be good, high-end prospect for them, and hit the ground running in the show. So I like the opportunity for Woo. On the other side, JP Sears, 21.6% strikeouts for the season, gives up way too much power, 4.45 ERA, 5.15 xFIP. Last season struck out only 17.7%, so he took a step forward this year. Has had some good games this season, some decent DFS games. Going up against a Mariners team that has a 25.3% strikeout rate collectively, and then against lefties. Let's just find out together. The active roster for the Mariners against left-handed pitching so far this season. Where the hell is it? Strikes out at a 26.9% clip. They do create runs at a 116 WRC plus, though. Hit for a decent average. Only a 152 ISO, which is 22nd in baseball. So they're actually better just creating runs than hitting for power, which is weird for them against lefties, but they do strike out a ton still. So I think there's a little bit of interest in strikeout potential for JP Sears. 86, I don't think I'd go there on the FanDuel slate, a little bit high. 67 on DK if you wanted to throw a few darts at the strikeout potential. I do think it's there, but be cautioned that there's tons of power on the Mariners side of things, and he's giving up an 11.4% barrel rate, 4.65% home runs. I think you roster the Mariners ahead of the Athletics, but I think both teams are probably in play. Athletics, it would just be a few hedge darts against a Woo position. If you're only building like 3 lineups, I don't think you need the Athletics. It's not that kind of a spot. But if you're building 150, you've got a 15% Woo. I think you can take a few shots with Athletics bats. If you're going that route, Tony Kemp, highly ignorable at the top, but Ryan Noda is very good. He gets on at a 372 clip. He hits for power, 188 ISO, 15 home runs in 443. Zach Geloff, price is coming down, 48.34, 12 home runs, 11 steals, 136 WRC plus, a 255 ISO. Having a very good season, over 244 plate appearances since his debut. Interesting bat right there with his premium contact. Seth Brown, not pricey enough. Very, very good contact, 3,000 to 2,600. Hit 221, 287, 407. I get that part, but he's got 13 home runs, 350 plate appearances, a 186 ISO. Pretty good power bat from the left side. Very cheap. Shea Langoliers, cheap where you need catchers, cheap where you don't. 20 home runs for Langoliers on the season and 457 plate appearances. 12.9% barrels, 43.4% hard hits. He sucks at everything else, but he hits for power. Nobody really rosters him. Jordan Diaz, 25-24, 10 home runs and 266 plate appearances. Not bad. 14% worse than average creating runs, but 45.6% hard hits. Strikes out a ton. Not a great option, but a playable one for very cheap if you're going athletic stacks. Soderstrom, Butler, 2 good lefty prospects. A little bit of power on display for both of them. 4 home runs, 3 home runs in 95 and 112 plate appearances. The ISO's not really there. The premium contact's there for Butler, at least in terms of the barrels. Not as much for Soderstrom, but a 39.4% hard hit rate is pretty good. 33% strikeouts, 27.4% strikeouts for Butler. You know what you're getting with this team. Very low batting averages. The average batting average on this team is 219. The average on base percentage is 288. You wonder why this team sucks. But they do have power. The Mariners, much better club. Playable priorities from like 1 through 6 with decent options in the 7, 8, 9 spots. JP Crawford gets on at a 378 clip ahead of all the team's power. Julio up to 287, 342, 500 with a 213 ISO, 133 WRC plus, 30 homers, 36 steals. He's going to finish the season with a better season than he had last year after struggling for most of the year. 6'5", 4'5" is crazy that his price has gone up that high, but it's worth it. 11.8% barrels, 52.7% hard hits. Just one of the best pure players in all of baseball right now. Teoscar Hernandez, Cal Raleigh, Eugenio Suarez, 30 plus percent strikeouts, but monster power when they connect. connect for all three of those guys. You mix and match them. You can play all three of them in a stack. Might be building in a few zeros. You might want to go to like a, obviously Julio, but you might want to work in some Ty France or some Dylan Moore, somebody like that to get a little bit of on-base skill, a little bit more potential to create runs, especially against lefties where they're hitting for less power. But God damn it. Giant Saquon Barkley expected to miss 3 weeks with an ordinary sprained ankle. So I guess not a high ankle sprain, but still was hoping he'd avoid missed time. Oh, well. Not that the Giants are going anywhere anyway. So looking down the lineup, Ty France not hitting for as much power, half as many home runs as last year, not hitting for as good a triple slash, but still above average for run creation, still involved very, very cheap first baseman. Dylan Moore, multi-position for very cheap, 7 home runs, a weird little triple slash in 142 plate appearances, but creates runs better than average, hits from the right side, and has been squaring the ball up like a monster this season. Jose Caballero, decent on base percentage from late, maybe you wrap him around. Sam Haggerty, just a mix in 2,300, 2,100, does have triple position eligibility for cheap on FanDuel, which isn't bad. Brian Wu, Mariners bats. JP Sears, Athletics bats. Actually, put the Athletics bats ahead of JP Sears. They're both low-end options, though. Speaking of low-end options, the Colorado Rockies facing Michael Wacha. Wacha leading the slate today, 8,900, 9,300. Top projection on the board, totally viable going up against baseball's worst team against both hands. 21.9% strikeouts for Wacha this season, 3.43 ERA, 4.64 xFIP is a little bit dicey. Not exactly the number we want to see for a pitcher who would be a focal point if I was building 150 lineups today, but doesn't get beat for power. This team doesn't have a ton of power to throw at him anyway. There's plenty of strikeouts on deck for him. 26.2% strikeout rate, despite Charlie Blackmon's 12.6, Chris Bryant's 17.9. After the two capable veterans, we're dealing with a 29.4% strikeout rate for all these guys, all the kids. That is ugly. There is major upside for Michael Wacha if he can stay clean today. If you're going to Rockies bats, I wouldn't really recommend it, but Wacha's not completely unhittable, obviously. I would go to Charlie Blackmon, Chris Bryant, Nolan Jones as my 3 priorities, and then I'm mixing and matching. I'll probably take Ryan McMahon as their best overall power hitter from the left side. He's got 23 home runs. Nolan Jones has been better in his 367 plate appearances. He's got 16 homers, creating runs 19% better than average, a 233 ISO to McMahon's 201, but another good lefty power bat. So it's those guys, those 4. And then if you're on DK, I would probably just go to Elias Diaz, the catcher, just because I would want a catcher if I was playing on DK. He's got 14 homers at 272, 317, 419, but only creates runs 17% worse than average. You've also got Eleuders Montero, righty bat, but does have premium power, 45.6% hard hits this season, 7 home runs in 261 plate appearances. Some of the power's coming through a little bit. Was a monster power hitter coming up through the minors. Ezequiel Tovar, 15 home runs, 11 steals. We were expecting better than a 74 WRC plus and a 291 on base from the rookie shortstop. Hasn't been great this season. Brendan Rodgers hasn't been great since his comeback, since returning to the lineup. Double-digit home runs each of the last 2 years, but 0 so far in 134. Brenton Doyle, 9 homers, 19 steals. Sub Mendoza, 242 on base, 35 WRC plus in 382 plate appearances. That's pretty ugly. Ty Blach, I don't think we need to get into too deeply here. 13.5% strikeouts, 4.64 ERA, 4.90 xFIP, giving up a fair amount of premium contact, going up against a capable Padres lineup. Don't think we need to roster Ty Blach, even at 5,200, 6,500. Not really much of a dart throw for value. Padres bats. Jurickson Profar found his way back to a leadoff spot. How about that? So skippable. So eminently skippable. That's also on Kim's spot. Did Kim get hurt or something that I'm missing? Maybe Kim got hurt. I don't know. I need you for NFL. This is a dart throw slate. Yep, we're coming. Don't worry. We're going to get through this. Ignore Profar in the leadoff spot. If Kim's there, obviously play him. I don't know if he's on the IL or what after the last few days. Tatis, Soto, Machado, Xander Bogaerts. That's a 4-man group. You can play all 4 of them. You can play all 4 of them in combination with other players in this lineup. That said, if it's the Campusano, Batten, Azokar, Igui Rosario, never saw that name before. If it's that version of the lineup, you really probably just want to focus on the 4 stars and then like one guy that correlates with him, like Campusano, where you need catchers. 3,200 is too cheap for him. 297, 355, 462, a 121 WRC plus, and 6 home runs in 155. That's been a good little bit of output. Batten, Azokar, and Rosario just kind of mix in plays. Batten does have a 105 WRC plus over 94. Tatis and Soto are stars and playing like it. Machado and Bogaerts are stars that have been up and down through the season. Machado's got 28 homers, a 205 ISO, 112 WRC plus, 18 homers, 16 steals, up to 276 for Xander. We're on the ascent. 276, 344, 425, 116 WRC plus. Rumors of his demise greatly exaggerated. 45, 33,000, highly playable. Michael Wacha with a bullet. Padres bats. Nothing from the Rocky side. Thank you. Last game up, Tigers at the Dodgers. So we read through Lance Lynn's numbers of late just before at the top of the show. But just to reiterate, he's been really bad since coming to the Dodgers. Last time out, gave up just 2 earned runs, struck out only 3 in 7 against the Padres. Against the Marlins, gave up 8 earned runs. Against the Braves, gave up 7. More forgivable against the Braves, but not great against the Marlins. 1 strikeout apiece. 1 strikeout in 3 of his last 4. 3 strikeouts in the most recent game. 3 strikeouts in the game where he went 7 against Milwaukee before that stretch of 3 where he only struck out 1. In that one and in the most recent one, he pitched okay. 7 innings in both starts, but really no strikeouts. And we're looking for Lance Lynn to spike big strikeout games from time to time. He had 11, 16, 10 twice earlier in the season. Had 9 in his 3rd game with Los Angeles. That's his high point since coming to LA. That came in only 5 innings against Colorado. But he's been really tough to trust. That said, he's going up against the Tigers lineup that feeds strikeouts to teams, that feeds good starts to pitchers. I have to trust Lance Lynn based on the track record. 84.92. He projects out very well. Overall this season, 5.94 ERA is atrocious. 5.57% home runs is atrocious. Way too much premium contact. 4.39 xFIP is much better. The strikeouts are okay. 13% swinging strikes is great to throw at a team like these Tigers with all these strikeouts in it. If you do take a position on Lance Lynn, I think you take some Tigers as a hedge position on the other side. Your focal points are going to be these 2 guys. Torkelson and Kerry Carpenter as their 2 best hitters by far. 28 home runs for Torkelson, 20 for Carpenter in only 407 plate appearances. Hits from the left side, has a much better triple slash, creates runs 29% better than average. Torkelson only 7% better than average. A weak triple slash, but monster power hitter from the right side. Matt Vierling is a mix and match leadoff man. Miggy Cabrera, say goodbye. Last couple of weeks to ever play him. I'll build one lineup and stick Miggy Cabrera into it just to say goodbye over the next couple of weeks, but it's not going to be today. Andre Lipschitz has been productive in 24 plate appearances. Let's see what the next couple hundred look like. 2,600, 2,300 looks like a playable part, if nothing else. McKinstry from the left side, 37-25, mix and match utility type, 8 home runs, 16 steals, but 20% worse than average creating runs. Javi Baez, just been awful all season, 59 WRC plus. Jake Rogers does have power, 19 home runs and 337 plate appearances. That's significant. A 224 ISO. Only hits 220, 289, 444. So only hits for power. 31.8% strikeouts could feed extra strikeouts to Lance Lynn, but definitely a bat you have to avoid if you're Lance Lynn in terms of giving up all that premium contact. Parker Meadows from the left side, 3,000, 2,700 mix and match option. Dodgers, fire away with Dodgers if you want him against Erod. But I like Erod as well. I think he's a talented guy. He doesn't project out great. He's not priced great for a matchup against the Dodgers, so I think he just falls by the wayside in terms of the player pool. Probably wouldn't have much if I was playing this slate. 23.9% strikeouts, 3.32 ERA, 3.98 xFIP. Only allows a 2.17% home run rate on pretty limited contact. Not a bad option by any means, but just facing a brutal opponent on a day where there's a lot of decent pitchers going up against bad teams like the guy on the other side facing Erod's team. I don't know how many times Erod wins the day at these prices. If he was 1,000 less, he'd be a lot more interesting. Mookie, Freddie, 2 superstars off the top. Tons and tons of power, tons and tons of run creation. 171, 164 WRC pluses. 39 and 26 home runs. They both even steal bases to boot. Will Smith, one of the top catcher options. Plays every day. 18 homers, 22% better than average creating runs. Martinez and Muncy, tons of power through the middle. 26 and 35 home runs. 125 and 121 WRC plus. High 200s ISOs. Monster power hitters. Chris Taylor against the lefty. Premium power bat against the lefty. 15 home runs, most of them against lefties. 15 stolen bases, 197, 107 in the ISO and the WRC plus. A very interesting bat. 2,800 triple position on FanDuel. 34 only outfield on DK. Kind of sucks that you lose the multi-position eligibility, but at least he's very cheap. And he fits into an outfield where there's not a lot of competition for spots because you're not really going to Enrique Hernandez. So you can play him alongside JD and Mookie in the outfield. Mookie's also got second base if you want to go to Enrique in the outfield for whatever reason. 3,100, 2,300 triple position on FanDuel, 9 homers, 4 steals, a down season overall, 29% worse than average creating runs. Ahmed Rosario, 11% worse than average creating runs, 6 homers, 4 steals. And then Miguel Rojas, 69 WRC plus, 4 homers, 8 steals to round things off. These guys are mix and match. These guys are priorities. Chris Taylor falls more into this side of the lineup than he does this side, but he's got a lot of power in the split against lefties, so it makes him more interesting, and he's very cheap, helps you pay for these guys. Dodgers bats. Ugh. Lance Lynn, Erod, Tigers bats. I wouldn't call you crazy if you move the Tigers bats up a little bit in that equation against Lance Lynn. He has been very, very gettable. That said, he projects out third overall on the pitching board. I like all three of these options, just on virtue of being talented pitchers going up against pretty atrocious ball clubs. Any one of these three guys would be a priority. These would be my three highest owned pitchers of the day. Freddie Peralta, not a great matchup, not a great price. Very, very talented pitcher. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Freddie won the day, even at the highest price. Verlander, wouldn't surprise me if he had a good, not great start. I think he gets hit for a couple runs, but if he comes out and puts up a monster, it wouldn't totally shock me. Very high price, don't love the matchup. Clevenger, fair price. This is realistic. Going up against the Nats, not an ideal matchup, but a talented enough guy. I just don't think the strikeouts are necessarily there to support much of a ceiling beyond this number. But if he pitches this kind of a ball game, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Monty, same story. I don't know how much ceiling is there given a lack of strikeouts overall, but it's a weaker version of that Red Sox lineup without the thunderous lefties in there, and he's a talented guy. So 7 clean innings, a handful of strikeouts for 95, 8,000, definitely in play on the DK slate if nothing else. Very solid option from the mid-range on the DK as your SP2. Clevy's the same thing. Brian Wu is obviously the priority, 7,200. Way too cheap on the DK board. Zach Wheeler, tough call against the Braves. Talented guy, could succeed for sure. Probably more likely to limit them, keep them to 3 or 4 runs, pitch a decent game, but not a great DFS game. Similar for Erod, although Erod's got more get tattooed downside against the Dodgers. Don't really think I'd be playing much Erod. Wouldn't really be playing much of Juan Adon. Maybe a little bit of JP Sears for strikeout upside. 6,700 dart throw on the DK slate. 86 mispriced on FanDuel for that. Cutter Crawford, another potential dart throw, but I greatly prefer the Texas side of that equation. I think they get to him today. Means no, Black no, Rate no, Wainwright no. Huh? Good. 517. We got out in under an hour. That's a win. Let's put it that way. Figure, keep an eye on the clock. 7:15 start time. I'm going to want at least a half hour, 6:45. Somewhere between 5:45 and 6:15, there's going to be a football show firing up. Just depends on how quickly I can get stuff together. That said, thank you guys for hanging out for the baseball show. Good luck tonight. It's a weird, thin competition out there. A lot of football going on tonight. So creates opportunities for sure. Somebody go win something. I'll see you in about a half hour, 45 minutes for a football show. See you guys.